Good morning, Facebook friends. This is going to be a video I'm going to post on YouTube. I thought I'd make it here though. I'm going to be starting to post more videos on YouTube. I do have a YouTube channel, but I haven't spiced it up yet. So I'm going to post more videos on YouTube. I think that's the best way to do it, and it won't distract from people needing help in the group. And if people want videos, they can go outside and get those. So I wanted to talk today about something that I was thinking about this morning, and it's the in the title here, it's called The Farmer and the Cattle Rancher. And I wanted to use this analogy of a farmer and a cattle rancher because I think this can be used to help explain the relationship between a narcissist and the rest of the population, okay? Because not every single one of us are codependent that are involved in a relationship with a narcissist. They just happen to get us, right? And the really good ones will get us, will fool us, okay? So, getting back to my story. So, I'm going to go back to the way farming was 100 years ago, before Monsanto and before they produced seeds that, you know, farmers had to buy over and over again. The way farming used to be was that a farmer would plant his crop every year, and he would hold back about 10% of the crop, or a certain percentage, and usually it was the best seeds, and he would hold those back because he was going to plant those for next year. That was how he could sustain himself. So using that example, you have a farmer who, that's what he does for a living. He farms. So he raises crop every year, and you know, he only has a certain amount of time to grow his crop. He's got a limited time. He's got sun up to sundown, right? And he's going to maximize that time. So he's going to go out and he's going to plant his seed, and then come harvest time, he's going to take his harvest to market, feed his family, you know, make a living, and then again he's going to hold back some of that seed. And there's a name for that seed. I can't remember the name of it, but anyways, he holds back some of that seed to plant for next year. And again, it's going to be his best seed. So on the now down the street from him, or down the road, because it's probably a dirt road, we're talking about 100 years ago, you have a cattle rancher. Now, there's a lot of analogies. Let me explain what made me think of a cattle rancher. Some friends of mine a few years ago wanted to build a dream house, and they bought this beautiful property, and it was on some acreage from this old cattle rancher. It was in a small town. It was being developed, and this cattle rancher, I mean, when we went by and looked at the land, because they would bring us out and say, hey, check this land out, we're going to build the house here and everything. But what was funny is there would be cattle on it, because the cattle would roam and eat the grass that was on the land. Because the guy who owned the land, he hadn't sold it yet, so he was parceling it off. The guy owned, oh my gosh, hundreds of acres, and he was going to parcel off 5 acres. He had 5 acres for sale, and my friends were going to buy it. So my friends bought the land, and they you know, started construction on the house, brought out the guys to lay the foundation and everything, and there were a couple times that the construction guys would show up in the morning, and there would be cattle out on the land. And one of the things that the owner was supposed to do, the guy who used to own the land, was supposed to get all the cattle off of this property. Well, he had a fence, but he hadn't put it up yet. It was kind of laying in an area, so it wasn't really usable fence. It had to be constructed. It still had to be. There was basically no fence. So the cattle every morning would wander over, or at night would wander over onto the my friend's property, and you know, that's not cool, right? I mean, they're trying to work and build this house. And so my friend would call this guy. They were polite about it at first. Hey, look, you know, you need to get the cattle away. And, oh, don't mind them. They won't hurt anything. That's what the cattle rancher told my friend. Actually, I think he was in oil and gas. I think he just had cattle. He wasn't a cattle rancher per se. But anyways, back to my example. So my friends had this property. They were building a house on it. The guy they bought the property from didn't put a fence to keep the cattle out, and so the cattle were interfering with the construction of their house, which was delaying the house and everything. So finally one day my friend just put up a fence on his own. He said, well, this guy's gonna like it or not. And so you know, he had tried to get the guy to go in half in on the fence, you know, since it wasn't really his responsibility to keep the cattle out. So anyways, back to my example. So earlier I discussed, or I propositioned that there was a farmer who we're back 100 years ago, before Monsanto, before farmers had to buy seed from Monsanto. Back 100 years ago, the farmers had to take a portion of their seed and plant it for next year. Well, you've got the cattle rancher next door, or down the street. He's down the road, and the cattle rancher is doing what he does. He has a limited amount of time. Also, he has sun up to sundown to you know, feed his cattle and slaughter them and take them to market and feed his family. So you've got two different types of people in the world. You've got farmers and you've got cattle ranchers. Back in the, let's say it's 1888, okay, and this is what you have back then. Well, the one thing about the farmer is that the farmer can sustain himself. The farmer can basically live off the land. The farmer can farm over and over again because he has seed that he can plant that's produced from the seed from the year before. The cattle farmer, on the other hand, to feed his cattle, he needs to feed his cattle to be able to produce cattle. So he can't slaughter his cattle and take some of that cattle and feed it to his other cattle. Cattle don't eat other cattle. I mean, I've heard of it happening, but it's not a good, healthy way to raise cattle. So the farmer needs the grass on his property to be able to feed his cattle and to be able to make a living. Okay, he's a cattle farmer, okay? Or he's a cattle rancher. So, but what happens is that the cattle rancher inevitably needs more land. So what's he going to do? He's got to sustain, he's got to make a living, he's got to sustain his way of living, he's got to feed his family. So the cattle rancher opens his fence up and lets his cattle roam the countryside. Well, it gets into a problem because the farmer's like, they start going onto the farmer's land. So the farmer says, wait a second, buddy, I need that land to be able to, you know, to be able to grow my crops. If you bring your cattle over there, you know, some of the nutrients in that grass and everything, I need that to be able to till into the soil. And the cattle rancher's like, don't worry about it, they won't do anything. Well, what I'm going to propose to you is that the normal person is like a farmer. They are self-sustainable. They are able to regenerate from within. They don't need other people to build themselves up and make themselves feel good. Where the cattle rancher inevitably needs the land around him. He has to cross boundaries around him in order to sustain his way of living, the way he is. And I would say that the narcissist is going to be that type of person. The narcissist is going to be a cattle rancher. Never mind the analogies about slaughtering meat and meat eaters and you know, carnivores or whatnot. But yeah, so the farmer has boundaries. He has his farm. He retills the soil every year. Where the cattle rancher constantly needs more land for his cattle. And you know, that's just the way they are, right? One's this way and one's that way. It's not good, it's not bad, it's not evil. A lot of us like to call our narcs evil. And I think, you know, at first, when we find out or when we see what they really are, I think we're so shocked that in order to give ourselves some type of, in order to bring some congruency to our thoughts about what is right and wrong in this world, I think we have to do that. You know, I think that for a lot of us, we have to call the narcissist evil when we first see it. I would propose that do that, call them evil, see the evil, see what they are, and then eventually over time, just realize that they are just a cattle farmer just trying to make a living, okay? They're making a living, happens to be crossing other people's boundaries. The farmer is going to get his boundaries crossed if he lives next to a cattle farmer. The cattle are inevitably going to come over there and eat his, and probably start eating his crops too. Well, if the farmer just let the cattle just come over and eat his crops all the time, don't worry about it. Well, or they wanted to please the cattle farmer, okay, I guess that could be another analogy. Yeah, this cattle farmer, he's a good friend of mine, I'll just let him come eat, whatever. Or the cattle farmer brings the farmer some meat in the beginning when they first meet. The cattle farmer's bringing all this meat. It's like, oh, hey man, you know, come over for dinner anytime. I love you. It's a love bombing. And so the farmer lets the cattle farmer start using his land for his cattle, and then every once in a while, you know, little by little, the farmer's crops are being destroyed by this guy's cattle until the farmer has this little tiny square left. Maybe the farmer had 10 acres he was farming, and now after 10 years, the farmer has 1 acre left. Okay, that is the narcissist demolishing the farmer's sense, I'm crossing these here, the empath's sense of well-being, because now the farmer is not going to be able to sustain himself because the seed that he gets is less and less, because he has less and less plowable land, because the cattle farmer has basically destroyed all of the farmer and what the farmer's all about. The farmer's resource is the land. So I know I'm going on and on about this analogy, but what I really want you guys to understand about this is that, number one, narcissists will always cross your boundaries. They won't stop, and they will take more and more and more and more. Okay, so you got to get them out of your life. Number two, the narcissist isn't necessarily evil, although I know in the beginning we like to think that, and some of you may believe that they're evil, and you know, that's fine, that's your belief. I just don't think it helps in your own personal recovery from a long-term standpoint. Short-term standpoint, yes, they are MFs, okay, but you have to realize that they're just trying to make a living too. They're just trying to be themselves. They're trying to fit into this world, and fortunately, you were dealt an empath card or a normal card, and they were dealt the narcissist card early in life, and that is what they decided to. Well, they really didn't decide it. That was what they were dealt. So that is how they act. Not good, not bad, not evil. Just is. Okay. And eventually, so going back to my farmer and cattle rancher example. You know, if the farmer doesn't start putting up fences and enforcing his boundaries, you know, say one night the farmer's like, man, I've only got, you know, the farmer started out with 10 acres and now he's only got 7 plowable acres left. He's like, his wife's going, you need to get out there and, you know, keep those cows off the property, hon. You know, I mean, I know our friend's nice. I know our cattle farmer friend's nice and all, but you know, we're just getting destroyed over here. We won't have any acres left, and we won't be able to sustain ourselves. You know, I don't know if they use that big a word, but they won't be able to take care of ourselves. So what the farmer needs to do is he needs to tell the cattle farmer, hey, look, you know, you need to keep those cattle off. And what the cattle farmer or what the farmer should do from a boundary standpoint is put up a fence. And now what happened is, or what may happen is, the cattle farmer is going to go out at night and he's going to cut the fence and let his cattle in on there, kind of sneak in, right, without telling the farmer he's doing that. And then some of the acreage is going to be bad, and the farmer's going to be like, that's weird, I put up a fence, I did everything right, and I come out and my crops are damaged, but I can't really tell if it's the cattle or not. Okay, the farmer's not aware of what's really going on. Okay, and I would propose to you that when you're in the relationship with a narc, you're not seeing what's really going on for a while. You're in the fog, fear, obligation, and guilt. Okay, so by the way, if you're leaving comments, I'm keeping my eyes on the road, so I'm not looking at your comments now, but I will in a little bit, and I will answer them. Okay, so keep commenting. I will come back to it if you have questions. So the cows are coming in the middle of the night. The farmer's cutting the fence, or the cattle rancher's cutting the fence. Cows are going in. Farmer's scratching his head, trying to figure out what's going on. Well, so the farmer decides, you know what, I'm gonna put the fence, I'm gonna reinforce the fence. Maybe the cows are sneaking on and I'm just not seeing it, you know, because the cattle rancher repairs the fence every night. He cuts it, and then the cows go in, and then before in the morning he lets them back in his property, and then he ties the fence back up, makes it look like nothing happened. Covert narcissism. Covert son of a... Okay, anyways, you get the point. So the farmer says, well, I'm not sure what's going on. I'm scratching my head like, I'm so confused. Honey, I'm so confused. This crop ain't going out. And the farmer's wife is saying, hon, well, we got to do something. Maybe that fence is bad. Maybe them cows are still sneaking across. Nah, hon, I don't think them cows will sneak across. My friend, you know, he said he wasn't going to bring the cows over anymore, so I know it ain't him. Yeah, the covert narc tells us it's not them. No, it's you, right? No. Okay, so continuing with our story. So, what does the farmer do? Well, what the farmer needs to do, he needs to first figure out where the problem lies. The farmer's thinking it's him, and maybe he's not putting the right amount of, maybe he's not putting enough scarecrows up to keep the birds away, because the crops are still getting damaged, but he didn't know it's a cattle, right? So he's got to, what the farmer needs to do is go out there and watch. He needs to go out there one night and just sit there and watch, okay? And this is where you need to figure out what the heck your narc is doing. You know, there's different debates on this, but I would say that if you're denying that your narc is, and this is for people in the early stages, you might deny that this person could ever do anything bad. Well, I propose that you take that denial off, or you get rid of that denial, and you take a hard look at the truth, and maybe even record, you know, track the person on their phone. Okay. Now, I'm not saying to go out and do this per se, because there's some laws and stuff, you can get into some trouble. But you know, if you have access to information around you, and it's not going to violate any laws or anything, document it. Figure out what it is. Be a detective. And at least figure out what in reality is really happening. What is your narc really doing? Because they're going to be saying one thing and doing another, and maybe you don't want to see what they're actually doing. But if you put the two together and you're more congruent, you'll have a better sense of what to do, because you'll be looking at reality. But I know it's tough to think that, gosh, this person may not love me, and you know, they're really this sick, creepy. Okay, but if you're here, you're probably at that point. So that's good. That's good. That's good. What you're doing is you're putting yourself in reality. You're finally maybe getting rid of some of that deniability, and then you can work on your stuff later. But in the first part, you want to do that. You want to see what is really going on around you. Get rid of the fog. And again, the best way to get rid of the fog is to go no contact, right? Okay, so you can get away from them and their influence. Okay, so back to our story. So the farmer's going out there at night. He's checking his crops, and he sees, well, I'll be. That's my buddy, the cattle rancher. He's cutting that fence. What's he doing? Oh my God! I can't believe he'd do that to me. Yep, he's a covert, right? He's gonna do that. He's got to feed his cattle, right? He's just feeding his cattle. He's just feeding his cattle. Well, the narcissists, they're just being narcissists, right? They got to go out and they got to make you feel bad to feel good. You know, they don't have any boundaries. They don't care what they do. So now the farmer decides, you know what? This is bull crap, right? Not bull, no pun intended. All right, this is bull crap. So I got to do something. So what does a farmer do? What the farmer should do? The farmer's going to put up a fence that you can't cut. So I guess back in those days, 1888, maybe he puts up, I don't know, maybe he puts up a fence with twice as much material. Same fence, same height, but he just wraps it real tight. And he tells his neighbor, hey man, you can't be cutting across my my property anymore. Please don't do that. Yeah, that's what a codependent, that's what a lot of us are going to do. Please don't do that. I can't believe you do that. Why would you do that to me? You know that I grow my farm and, you know, I grow and feed my family and, oh, I'm sorry, Bill. Them cattle must have been getting across. Well, I saw you went out and cut it. No, I didn't. I didn't cut your fence. Yeah, man, we're neighbors, man. I'd never do that to you. But I saw you do it. Well, back then in 1888, they didn't have any digital cameras or any recording devices. So, unfortunately, gaslighting would have been really, I don't know if they had gas. Yeah, they had gas back then. But I don't know if you can see here that the cattle rancher's telling the farmer, dude, I wouldn't do that to you, man. We're neighbors. I've had you over for dinner. In fact, I'm going to bring you a couple more steaks, man, just to show you that I'm sorry, my cattle must have accidentally gone over there. Yeah, it was my cattle, but, you know, it's all right, man. You know, I'm going to throw you a couple more steaks, man. Throw them on the barbie for you, man. Come over, have a cookout. So the farmer's like, oh, yeah, he's a good guy. He's a really good guy. He wouldn't do that. Yeah, he didn't do that on purpose. What I saw, no, I must have, I don't know what I saw. Maybe one of my scarecrows magically, I don't know what I saw. You know, he didn't cut the fence. He says he didn't cut the fence. I believe him. I believe him. So, gaslighting, right? I didn't do that. You're seeing things. Bill, you've been smoking some of your crops over there? I don't know. I'm getting the names confused here, guys. But you know, one's the farmer, one's the cattle rancher. So anyways, so the next day, well, farmer goes over there, has a cookout. Cattle ranchers like just throwing stuff on the barbie, you know, having a good old time. And yeah, farmer's like, yeah, he's a good guy. He's not so bad. Yeah, I like this guy. Tells a few jokes, you know. So what's going to happen next? Well, the cattle rancher is going to say, you know, they're over at the barbecue, they're having a good time. Cattle rancher's like, hey, Bill, could I ask you a favor? Like, sure, anything, man. Well, my cattle, man, they've been getting really skinny, man. I've been kind of running out of land. You got any ideas on what I could do? Well, I think there's some land maybe over yonder a ways. Yeah, but that'd take a long time. I'd have to walk them over there and everything, and it'd kill some of my time in my day. You know, I think what would be good is if I could bring them on your land. You know, you don't have a problem with that, do you? Oh, yeah, actually, Bill, I do. You know, I'm growing crops on my land, and you know, I need that for my family and everything. You understand? Oh, yeah, sure. I understand. Yeah. You don't think I could just bring them over there just for a little bit, right? Like if I brought them over there, Bill, I promise, if I brought them over there, I would make sure that they only ate just a little bit and not all the crop. Because you know, in farming, I'm going to tell you this, I'm a cattle rancher, but I know about farming, and you know, if you eat the crop, if the cattle eat the crop a little bit, you know, just around the edges and leave the root, that's better for you, Bill. Really, it is? I didn't know that. Yeah, it's better for you, man. If we get those cattle in there to eat some of the edges around that crop of yours, yeah, it'll make them grow faster. Really? Well, sure. Yeah, that sounds good. Well, the cattle rancher's totally giving the farmer a line of bullcrap. No pun intended. Actually, pun intended. So that isn't true, right? So he's not telling him the truth, but you know, the farmer just wants to be friends. Okay, I stopped driving. I can look at you guys now. So the cattle rancher stopped. I'm looking at all these comments. Oh yeah, I've got all these puns. Okay. So yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying my story. So let me continue. Okay, so the cattle rancher's coming over, he's telling the farmer that, man, you know, actually me having your cattle eat your crops is a good thing, man. It's a really good thing. And so the farmer's buying it, just like the narcissist will tell us lies, and we'll buy the lies, right? Because we want to believe it. We don't want to believe our neighbor. We don't want to believe this person that was throwing us steaks on the Barbie and having us over and love bombing us and everything is going to be bad. And it's just because that's what, you know, that's how we are. So anyways, it's weird. I'm stopped driving and I'm losing my train of thought. So let me pretend I'm driving again. Okay. So I'm moving. I'm driving the car, moving. No. Okay. So anyways, so the farmer talks to his wife, and the wife says, honey, that's not true about, you know, this is after they've had the barbecue and everything. And the wife says, honey, that's not true about the cattle eating part of the crops is going to be good for them. That's not good for us. You need to tell that guy that, you know, he can't do that. He can't bring his cattle over. So, and this has been happening actually. They have the barbecue. The farmer starts bringing the cattle over, letting them eat the edges of the crops, and then he brings them back. And then the crops start dying, and then the wife is like, see, I told you, look, this isn't good. We need to tell them to stop doing this. So the farmer goes over, tries to get a hold of the cattle rancher. Cattle rancher's not home. And for a while, he can't get a hold of the cattle rancher. He's like, well, he's my best friend. I know I used to be able to just yell over the fence and he'd come over and talk to me, but now I can't seem to get a hold of him. Well, that's a narcissist disrupting communication, okay? They're the worst communicators. They only communicate to you when they want something, or when they're trying to manipulate you. And it's usually not two-way communication. It's usually just like a lecture, okay? Trying to get you to do what they want you to do on the script. So if the cattle rancher comes over, he's trying to manipulate the farmer. Just realize that. You'll see that in the story if you haven't played it back yet. So anyways, so now this is going on for a little bit, and he can't get a hold of the cattle rancher, and the cattle rancher's, you know, shows up one day at his door. It's been about 2 weeks. Again, they're still bringing the cattle over to eat part of the crops, which the farmer knows now is not good for the crops because he's losing even more acreage that he can farm. And so the cattle rancher's like, hey, how's it going, Bill? Good to see you. And the farmer's pissed. He's like, I've been trying to get a hold of you, and you know, this is not good about your cat. Oh, don't worry about that, man. No, it's all good. It's all good. Hey, I was just coming over. Whoa, before you start any more, I don't want your cattle coming over and eating my crops. It's not good for the crops. I've watched it for the last 2 weeks, and the crops, haven't grown, you know, it's not good. And I actually went and looked in the farmer's almanac, and that says it's not good. And yeah, you know, you've got bad information. You know, I'm a farmer and I know, and I've got, you know, I've talked from generations to generations, and I've looked in the library in town, and they have this the study that was done back in 1850 that says no, cattle eating crops is not a good thing, not even the edges. Oh, that's just all information, Bill. You know, that I don't know if that's those scientists, they don't know what to talk. Look, I know what I'm talking about. I've seen it before. Lies. I've seen it before. You know, don't worry about it. You ever heard the narcissist say that? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, Bill. It's just, it's nothing. Well, I am worried about it because it's my crops, okay? So what are you going to, so I can't have you do it anymore, you know? Now the farmer's going to take a stance on his boundaries, right? You cannot come across and bring your cattle on my farm and eat my crops. You are no longer to do that. Oh, I can't believe you, Bill. I did all these things for you. I give you a barbecue. Now the farmer, or the cattle rancher, is going to try to manipulate Bill into letting him still bring his cattle over. Okay, so now he's going to try and throw everything out in the book to do that. So he's going to start telling him, well, I've been telling rumors around town, Bill, that your crops are tainted, you know. You know, when my cattle were coming over and on your property, I noticed that there were some like bugs in there, and I'm going to tell, you know, I hate for the town citizens to know about your crops being all bugged and stuff, you know. They're eating them, and they might be getting stuff on them, and so the farmer's confused, and like, he doesn't, you know, he knows there's been a couple of bugs there, but, you know, but the farmer has done the normal things. The farmer has taken care of his crops. He's done the right things to make sure there aren't bugs in there. His crops are safe, you know. He hasn't done anything wrong. But what the cattle rancher's done is he's focused on those bugs and blown them out of proportion and let the farmer know, you know, I'm going to tell people in town about those bugs, you know. So that's what the narcissist will do. They will take something of yours, a weakness of yours, something normal, something that happens with everybody. Like some people put on weight and they're self-conscious of their tummy. The narcissist will use that vulnerability, that weakness of yours, that something that you're self-conscious of, and they'll threaten to do something with it. Maybe not as overtly, but they'll threaten to do something with it where they will instill fear in you so they can manipulate you, the fear of others finding out about this. So the farmer's confused. He's like, Bill, I don't still understand. Well, you need to get off my property, Bill. So now the farmer's taking a stance and telling the cattle rancher to go take a hike. So the farmer should go no contact, and I was eventually going to get into this story where the farmer was going to have a shotgun and put up a bigger fence, and that's what eventually. I'm not going to continue the story there, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue the things that I think people need to do, stuff that I know I did, is that you just need to have a good boundary. You need to have a good fence, and you know, if you need to have a shotgun behind that fence, not a literal shotgun, I'm talking about a more of a protective measure, that's going to be the best thing that you can do, is to keep that narcissist out of your mind, out of your area, out of your physicalness, your proximity. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I got a little carried away, but I thought I've kind of had some fun with it, and I love you guys. We'll see you later. All right, I'll read your comments and comment back. Okay, bye.